In this video, we will work on Lab 2 together. Before watching this video, make sure you have already tried those exercises by yourself. Let's look at the problem. The following data file contains information on some baseball players. So I will copy the link. Copy link, okay. So then I use a file name, right? So I want to, what's this one? So let me copy in this way. Copy the link. And I will create a name for that one. Maybe I just call it baseball. Maybe just base, okay. URL, so tell SAS it is a web link. Oh, of course, make sure, so just check that one if you can, right? So check this one. Make sure so it is a standard CSV file. So the first row are just the name of the variable, and so all values are separated by comma. Okay. So what's next? Yeah, so the question one, import the data file into SAS. Note that some names will not be loaded correctly with the default setting. Yeah, but anyway, so first we will just try to get it using the default setting, the out, so equal to baseball, specify name of the dataset. So then a data file, this will be base, dbms, right? So you specify the format will be CSV and replace, okay? Yeah, so this is just the default setting, and so use a proc print data is baseball and run. Yeah, so let's run this one. So SAS load the data. What does it mean? So it says first name of 107th player is Frank Lee instead of Franklin, right? So Frank. Maybe we can check 107. See Frank Lee. Seems some characters are chopped off, right? Well, I think we explained why this happened, because by default, so for the proc import statement, proc import procedure, SAS will just scan first several rows to determine the format of your data. Yeah, and usually, so if you can ask SAS to scan more rows, yeah, just guessing rows. For this one, you can specify a much larger number. So here I just set it at 400. Yeah, because anyway, in total, so we have only like 322 observations. Yeah, so just set this number large enough. Yeah, so then we run it again. So then we check that person 107. See, now we have Franklin. Yeah, so now this should be fine. Yeah, so you can just randomly check some long names, right? So if they load correctly, so then it should be fine. So load the data correctly. Create a new SAS dataset with the following variables. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 variables. Okay. So there are multiple ways to do it, right? So then I just create a dataset. I call it a baseball 2. Then set, so start from this original data. So then I just keep the variables I want. Here just give you the name of the variable, right? So I just copy there. Yeah, so I just remove the text I don't want. So will be first last. Okay, so then we'll have team 86, and so team 87, and so also salary. Yeah. So we only keep these 5 variables. Yeah, so then we use proc print data is baseball 2, right? So we can check it. Run this one. See, looks fine, right? So we have only 5 variables and so all observations from the original dataset. Create a subset, so which include players so who changed team after 1986. Change team, yeah, because in the original data, right, we have 2 variables. I think we have, let's see. Yeah, so we have the team 87 and the team 86, right? So if they change team, so definitely, so the value, so basically, so they will be in different team for these 2 variables, right? So basically, we just want to find player so who change teams. The data, the name of the data set, so I call it will be change. Yeah, so then set baseball. So then we just only keep the team 86 is different from the team 87. Okay, so then proc print data equals to change run. Because there are too many variables, so here I only want to print the team 86 and the team 87. Yeah, so just make sure, so will be easier to compare. That's one thing. If cause team 86 and team 87, so they are characters. Usually, so when you want to compare character variables, you may want to change both of them. So either both of them to uppercase or maybe both of them to lowercase. Yeah, but so usually, so this is recommended. So if you want to compare character variables, run this one. You can see, so those are just a list of person, right? So who changed names. Change teams. Of course, you may want to display their name, first name and the last name. Yeah, so last name. Yeah, so those are just space. Yeah, so those are just the players who changed teams in this. So from 1986 to 1987. Next one, so create a subset which include players so whose salary are missing. So then I just data missing salary. Okay, yeah. So start from the original variable, so baseball, and so I just where salary 87 is missing. Yeah, is missing. So this is a keyword, so supported by where statement. Yeah, so we will print data missing salary, right? The variable we only display the name, first and the last name, and the salary 87. 87. Yes, just make sure all the salaries are missing. Run this part. Something is wrong. This is not a salary. Okay, so let me run this again. Yeah, you can see. So the salary are missing, right? Check the log window. Yeah, just make sure so everything is fine. So there's no warning and no warning or error. So this is question 1. Yeah, so I post it for a while, so you can check the code if you want. Okay. For second question, the following data file was downloaded from the World Bank. Yeah, so this is a Excel file. Yeah, so I click here, so it will download the file. This one, you can see. First, you may notice it has a multiple worksheet, right? And so see we have countries, and so we have those are the GDP per capita, right? Yeah, so have so many informations. Okay. So if you want to work with this file, and first you need to, because it is a Excel file, right? So you have to upload the file to your online cloud storage. I think I've already uploaded that. The name is GDP per capita. I think so here, right? Yeah, so GDP per capita. So let me choose the property. Find the location of this file. So then I use a file name. I specify the location. Let's call it GDP. Yeah, so then I include the location of this file. Use proc import out equals GDP per cap. Yeah, so this will be the name of the variable. So then I say data file equals GDP, right? Yeah, so the format of the file will be XLS. So this format is exactly the file extension. Yeah, so then we will say replace. Notice, so for this data, see, data file are saved in this range, right? You can see, so where it is. See, here, this cell, so is 4A, right? So if you go to the end, end, so this is the last column, you go to the last row, right here. Yeah, so will be, this is look at here, so this is BN 270. Okay, right? Yeah, so then this just means you need to specify the range. So the range will be from A4 to BN 270. So you also need to specify the worksheet. Name of the worksheet is data. See, you look at here. See, this on the left bottom, right? Yeah, so this is the name of the worksheet. So this is data. Okay, yeah, so then you should get that. Print data is GDP per cap, run. If you run this one, so you may notice another issue. See, the name of the variable, so they are not valid SAS names. Yeah, because in this Excel file, right, you can see, so those this headline, so it's just the year, right? Yeah, but for valid SAS names, so we cannot start with number. So this is not a valid SAS names. So for this scenario, you need to add an option. See, valid var name option. I think we mentioned that. So you say options valid var name, so equals to v7. Then you run it again. So SAS just add a underscore in front of those numbers, right? And so this is a valid SAS name, yeah, because SAS name can start with underscore. Yeah, so then this will be make our future work easier. Okay. Yeah. And so then create a new variable based on the 2020 GDP per capita. Yeah, so then according to that variable, so we just want to create several groups. Yeah, so the value of this one will be character strings. So we will say data, the new data set. So I want to call it GDP per cap 2. Okay, so start from the original one, GDP per cap. Okay, and so we discussed a very similar example in lecture. So here we just need to use if then else to work it out, right? See the first one. So if it is missing, so then the value will be missing. Okay, so if underscore 2020 is missing, yeah, so we can just directly write in this way. Then GDP group, yeah, so this will be missing. Else, so then we need to further compare this one with those different values. Yeah, so if it is smaller than 1000, right? See, smaller than 1000, 5000, 15,000, and greater than 15,000. Yeah, so if it is smaller than 1000, so then GDP group, yeah, so just will be less than 1K, right? Yeah. Else, if this one is smaller than 5,000, then GDP group, yeah, so will be between 1K and 5K. Another else if 2020 is smaller than 15,000, then GDP group, yeah, so is between 5K and 15K. Else, yeah, so then for the remaining just will be those greater than 15,000, right? So then the GDP group, so will be larger than 15K. Another thing you need to be aware of is the length of this variable. Yeah, because by default, so the length of this variable will be extracted from the first possible value. Yeah, so basically will be determined by the value of missing. So here we need to set the length longer. So at least you can count. Yeah, so for those character strings, right? So which one is the longest one? Or maybe you set the character string slightly even longer than that one. Yeah, so I say GDP group. Yeah, so here I just set it as 25. Then proc print data is GDP, this one, right? So I just want to show the value of 2020 and also the GDP group. Yeah, so I just want to check these two variables, make sure the value are set correctly. So let's run this one. Check the log window. Well, so looks like everything is fine. Okay. Yeah, so see missing, and so those value looks fine, right? Yeah, so you can check some of the values. So if the value and the character match, right? So then the value are set correctly. Okay. Next one, so create a new variable average, right? So this will be the average of GDP per capita in the last 3 years. Then I create another variable, another data set. Yeah, I just put this in per capita 3. Okay. Yeah, so then set GDP per cap. The new variable I want to create is GDP average, right? Yeah, so GDP average, yeah, just equal to the average of those three. So will be the value of 2018 plus 2019 plus 2020. Yeah, so then proc print GDP per capita 3, right? I only want to show the value of those variables involved here. Yeah, so 2018, 2019, and 2020, right? And so also the GDP average. Yeah. So we run this one. So check the log window. Looks fine, right? So seems no error. Yeah. So you can check some of the values. Of course, so there is one possible issue of this one. Yeah, because see if some of the value are missing. Yeah, because missing plus anything, the result will be missing. So then we are not able to compute the average of those 3 years. But if there's no missing, and so then we will be able to compute those years. Yeah. Okay, so looks fine. The next question, create a new variable GDP increase. Yeah, so as the percentage of increase over the last decade. Yeah, so we just use the GDP in 2020 minus GDP in 2010, and so divided by the GDP of 2010, right? So this, I think so we just add the variable here. So GDP increase, so will be the 2020 minus underscore, so 2010, so divided by 2010 times 100, right? Yeah, so this will be the percent of increase. In the output, so I also want SAS to display this value increase. Run this one. Yeah, so then we have another one. Well, seems for some country, instead of increasing, and we have a negative value, right? So it means decreasing. Yeah, so looks fine. Next question, transpose data. The resulting data set contains 4 variables. Yeah, we will have country name, country code, year, and GDP per capita. So what does this mean? Because in the current data, you can see one row corresponds to one country, right? So we have multiple variables corresponding to GDP for different years. Yeah, so this is called wide data. And so now we just want to convert that to a long data. So I mean, so each row corresponds to 1 year for one country, right? So one country may have multiple rows. So each row corresponds to the GDP for 1 year. Yeah, so this is what we want to do. The name of the procedure, so we plan to use, so will be transpose. Yeah, so we'll do proc transpose, right? So the data will be GDP per cap. Yeah, so we need to specify a out data. So the output data, so let's call it GDP long. Okay. So the by, right? So just means, so how can we identify which each row? So basically, so here we just will use the country name and the country code. So notice, so if you want to use a by statement, so the data should be sorted before that. Yeah, so we will use proc sort data GDP per cap and by country name and country code, right? So data should be sorted before that. And so the variable we want to transpose, yeah, so will be, see if you look at the data, the first one I think will be year 1960, right? The last one will be 2021. So because there are too many variables, and because so those names are similar, you can write in this way. Basically, you just write a hyphen or that minus sign, right? Then SAS just will know just starting from this number to this number. Yeah, so SAS just will automatically fill the name of the variable in between. Yeah, so then we will print data will be GDP long, right? Okay, so let's run this one, and we want to check so whether this is what we want or not. So it's running, and yeah, so it's too long, so display it anyway. Okay, yeah, so looks like this is what we want, right? So see, we have each year, right? And but you may want to further modify that slightly. See, for this column 1, right? So we want to change that to a meaningful name. This label for this one, so we may not want this column. For this name, so I want to change that to year, right? Yeah, so this is what we will do. So basically use the option, so name equals year, right? So this option just specifies the name, basically to replace this underscore name underscore. And so for column 1, we want to change names, right? So here, so I just use a option here, so rename, right? Yeah, so then I want to change the column 1 to GDP per cap. Yeah, to change it to a meaningful name. And so I also want to drop one variable, right? So I want to drop this underscore labor underscore. Yeah, so I want to drop this one underscore labor underscore. So then let's run it again. Okay, right. Country, name, code, see, then we have year, then we have the GDP per capita. Okay, yeah, so it looks fine. It is why it is frozen. Something with my internet, so or with the SAS Studio. But anyway, yeah, so then this one is solved, right? So then we need to okay. Yeah, I guess because this data is large, and so we know, so for SAS Studio, so there are some limitation on the size of the dataset you can process, or how large the dataset you can display. Yeah, just because of this restriction, sometimes make this one slow. If you can use the SAS installed, not SAS Studio, because this is a free version, right? So if you have SAS installed on your own computer, yeah, so then you will not have this issue. Okay. The next question is write the transposed dataset to a CSV file. Well, it is still running. I can not. it's stuck. Well, so I will close this one. So let me reopen. Okay. Let me reopen. Well, seems what we have before, so it's gone. Let me load the data. GDP. Okay, so hopefully, so this will be fast. Yeah, so then I just directly work on that, and so we without much explanation. Yeah, I think so. We've already explained that already, right? So then we need an options valid var name, so will be v7. Okay, so then we will use proc import. So data will be the GDP per cap. So the data file equal to GDP, right? And so the format of the data set is XLS and with replace. Then we need the range. To specify the range will be the data. This is name of the worksheet, and then $sign A4 to BN 270. Yeah, so this is the range of the data. We run it, so then we print this data, so GDP per cap, and run. So let's see, the data are loaded correctly. Import data. Oh, so it's here, this option is not data, so this option should be out. Okay, so we run it. Yeah, so the data are loaded correctly. So then for the chain, define variables, so then I will not repeat. So then I just directly do the transpose. Okay, so I proc sort data is GDP per cap. Yeah, so we need to first sort them by country name and country code. Okay, and so then proc transpose. So the data will be GDP per cap, right? So we specify name as year, and the output data will be GDP long. So here we also want to rename the variable. So the column 1 will be GDP per cap, right? So we also want to drop one variable, labor. Okay, and so we will have VAR, so that's the variable we want to transpose, and from 1960 to 2021. Okay, we write proc print, so the data is GDP long, and so let's check that. So we run it. Seems something wrong. Oh yes, I missed a by statement, right? Yeah, because we need a by statement to specify so which row it is, right? So with by name and country. Yeah, by okay, right. When I say country name, country code, so year and GDP, right? Yeah, so each row corresponds to the GDP for 1 year and for one country. Okay, yeah, so basically we have these 4 variables. So then write the transposed data to Excel file. To write the data to file, so we use proc export, right? So the data will be GDP long. So then you need to specify a file. So out file equals, you need to specify a location in your cloud storage. Yeah, so here, so I specify my ID, so then gdp long.csv, right? So then you need to specify the format dbms equal to csv, and so then the replace run. Okay, so you run this one, looks fine. So then in your cloud storage, see gdp long, right? So then you can download the files. Yeah, so you can try to open it, and so this just should be the information, right? See, just should be the data, the transposed data. Yeah, so this is question 2. So I will pause at this window for a while, and so you can check the solution. Next question. The following data file contains information on some employees of a airline. So notice, so this is a SAS. I mean, the file extension is SAS 7BDAT. So this is a SAS data file. If you want to use the SAS data file, you just need to create a the lab name. So first, of course, so you need to upload that data to your online cloud storage. I think so it is already uploaded. So employee, so here, so employee.7 SAS 7BDAT, right? So first you create a library, so lab name, the my lab. Yeah, so then you just specify this this directory, home, so data sets. Okay, yeah, so then you just print data equals my lab, and so then the name of this file just will be the name of your data set. Yeah, so just will be employees. Okay, and run. Yeah, so you run it. See, this is just the data set. I think so we have 500 observations. How many observations and how many variables? Yeah, of course, so you can count. Yeah, but usually, so what I expect you to do is you just get that information from Proc contents. So if you use a Proc contents, right, and it will show you, see, we have 500 observations and 10 variables. Okay, so the next one, define a new variable domestic, so which is 1 if country is US and 0 otherwise. We have a variable, look at here. We have country, right? So country, yeah. So value will be USA or maybe some other countries. So then we just create a data set, employees, set my lab employees. So notice, so these two data sets are different. So this is output data set, so this is input data set. Input data set, so although they have the same name for this data set, yeah, but the output data set is in the work library. Yeah, but the input data set is in the my lab library. So they are different. Okay. So then we will have domestic. There are different ways to write it. So the first one is, see, if a country equals USA, then the domestic equals 1, else the domestic equals 0. Right? Yeah. For example, so we use print, and so we want to check that. Here I just want to display two variables, country and domestic. If we run this one, see, if country is, if country, why it is all country, I think it is misspelled. See, variable, this is uninitialized. Yeah, I think so I misspelled, so it should be country. Okay, let me run this again. See, for USA it is 1, otherwise it is 0, right? This is one way to write it. So we just use the if then else. Another way to write it is because for domestic, so it has only two possible values, 0 and 1. And so we can write it in this way, domestic equals. Yeah, so equals this one. I write a parenthesis, just want to make it easier to read the code. Because see, this is a comparison, right? So we compare the value of country with USA. So if the value is true, so SAS will return 1. So if the comparison is false, so then SAS will return 0. So by this way, so then we will get a domestic, the value will be either 1 or 0, right? So according to whether this comparison is true or false. Yeah. So if you run this one, you will get the same result. Next one, create a subset so which include employees so whose cities is either Cary or London. Okay, let's check the dataset. We will have city, right? So some can be Cary and some maybe are London. So basically we just want to know, so we just want to pick two possible values, right? So then we can say like, so the data selected, okay? So the set employees, and we will say where city in, so can be Cary or can be London. Okay, so then we print data is selected. Okay, let's check that. If you check city, right, so Cary, yeah, so seems all of them are Cary, right? Cary, there's no London. See, do you know so why there's no London? Because in the original data, if you check here, see, I think so there should be some London, yeah, but you can see, so all letters are capital letter, right? Let me find one London for you. Why there's no London? Yeah, London. See, so all letters are capital letters, right? Yeah, but so here, so what I write is small letters. So if then basically, so if for this comparison, so for the comparison of character strings, so SAS distinguish capital letters and small letters. So you need to be very careful for that. Yeah. So here right now, see we have some London. Okay. So now this is correct. Of course, sometimes to be just in case, right? So you may want to change those city, right? So to make sure, so they are capital letters, and so then compare that with Cary and London. Yeah, so then this will be much more safe. Yeah, so much more safe. Create a subset which include employees whose salary is between these two values, 25,000 and 40,000. Yeah, so if you check the data, so we have salary, right? Yeah, so salary cell should be between 25,000 and 40,000. So then we will say data selected to, right, set employees. We want to pick salary between 25,000 and 40,000. For print, data is selected to. So here I just want to display, yeah, I think like that is fine. Let's run this one. Something wrong? Data set does not exist. Oh, this is selected. Okay, yeah, so let's run it again. Salary, you can see, so 25, I mean between 25,000 and 40,000, right? Yeah, so you can quickly scan through the dataset and to make sure the SAS does what you want him to do. The next one, create a subset which include employees whose first name is Betty. So notice the first name can be Betty A, Betty L, yeah, because it may contain initial values. Basically, so what we want is we cannot do a character comparison, right? So we just need to make sure as long as the name contains the Betty, contains those words, and then should be fine. So we just create a data, select 3, I call it set employees, and so then I want to select first name contains Betty, right? For print, data is selected 3. Okay, so let's run it. First name, right? You can see we have Betty E, Betty L, Betty J. So we include all Bettys. Yeah. The last one, so create a subset, so which include employees whose city is Gary and job code is pilot. Yeah, because pilot can be pilot 1, pilot 2, and similar. So this just means so as long as the job code contains pilot, right? So then those observations should be included. Yeah, so then we will have 2 criterion for inclusion, right? Yeah, so first one is city, and then will be the job code. I create that as data selected for set employees. I want to include this city should be carry, right? And so we use and. So if we want both, hold the job code will contains pilot. Okay. So then I use Proc print. So I want to check the selected for and to make sure they are not what I want. I run it. City, all of them are carry, and so the job code, right? We have pilot 3 and 1 and 2. Yeah, so seems so this is what we want. This is end of this question. So let me show the code for a while. See, you can check the code. I put it in this way. You can check the code. So make sure you understand the code. Question 4. The following SAS code is illustrated in the lecture to explain when accumulating totals, the sum statement will ignore missing values. So modify the second data step to make it have the same performance as the sum statement. Yeah, so that is ignore missing values. So let's copy this part to SAS. Let's try to run it. Okay. It's a little bit wrong. Oh, was seems when copy this one, or seems SAS automatically ignored those space. Yeah, so let's run it again. I compare the data. Okay, yeah, see. First one is the original data. So the second output. So this is the result is, so we use the sum statement, right? So we just compute the cumulative sum. But for this one, for the third code, yeah, of course we use cumulative sum plus y. Because if you have a missing value, right? So then when if you have a missing value, so when missing value is added to the cum sum, added to 5, yeah, so the result will be missing, right? Yeah, so then it will cause some issue. Okay, and so how can we do that? We just see essentially just, so if it is a missing, and so then we do not add that value to cum sum. Yeah, so then it should be fine, right? So what I mean is, see, so if the missing value is, I should say, if not missing, right? If not missing, so then the cum sum will be updated, right? So if it is missing, we do not update it. Yeah, so then let's run it again. You can see, so now for the third output, see, the cum sum so has the same behavior as the cum sum. Okay. So this is question 4.